You know what they say, opinions are like a penis. It's okay to have one, but not everybody wants to share it. So here's my opinion. Pochettino is the best manager in the Premier League at this moment, bar none. Yeah, I did. I said that. That's what I said. And that's my opinion. But I can't just say that, can I? And get away with it? Are you all just going to accept that that's my opinion? Oh yeah? There is no doubting that people share my opinion that Pochettino is a good manager. I don't think many outside of Tottenham would agree that he is the best manager, but a lot of people would agree that he is a good manager. The biggest criticism that you will get from fans outside of Tottenham and indeed inside Tottenham is that he hasn't actually won anything. But it kind of feels like a at the moment. So he hasn't won anything yet. But if you don't see that that's coming, then I'm not sure you should really be watching football and sharing your opinion. There, I said that as well. So, I don't know. So anyway, let me talk a little bit seriously now. So why do I believe that Pochettino is the best manager in the Premier League? Well, I guess it all comes from the fact that I look at the players and the way the players are playing, and I put that down to team spirit, confidence, togetherness. And all of those things tend to come from the top. So let's look at it a little bit one at a time. So Musa Sissoko. So he's gone from shit Soko to Silk Soko in a matter of months. Why is that? What's changed? Sure, there is a lot of support for him and a lot of love for him from the fan base now. But the fan base is unforgiving. It took a long time for the crowd to take to him and to accept him as an integral part of the squad. And I have seen a video from the We Are Tottenham TV guys where one of their people interviewed him, and he did shout out about the support that he was receiving from the fans and how that helped. But for me, I think it's a really good piece of man management on behalf of Poch, because under enormous pressure, because he must have seen it, he must have heard it from the crowd of people sighing, tutting, booing, all that kind of stuff that was going on. And obviously from looking at the players play himself, he could tell that what he was getting from the guy wasn't what he was expecting £30 million worth of player to be providing. But he didn't panic. He didn't call him out in front of the media like another great manager did with his players. He kept the faith with him. He kept working with him. He kept building on it. And the other important thing about that as well is that the players around Sissoko also kept faith in him. They didn't lose their confidence in him. And to his credit, the guy kept showing for the ball and trying to get involved. So he played through that period, and he's put himself into a position now where he is got to be one of the first names on the team sheet, because he has been so solid in midfield. The interesting part of as well with that is he does still make mistakes. He does still give the ball away, and he does play the ball safe a lot. But because of what you can see from him, and because of the confidence that he's playing with, you can see that the crowd are behind him. So that then brings me on to Llorente. As Expressions would call him, La Lamppost. And if you haven't watched Expressions videos, you got to, because he is absolutely hysterical. So he calls him La Lamppost. The caning that guy is getting on social media has been horrendous. It was almost worse than Sissoko at some points. He's useless, couldn't do this, can't do that, blah, blah, blah. But you see him when he scores the goals, how much it means to him and how much it means to the rest of the team. Now, it would have been easy for Poch to go, I won't play him, I've got Sonny back now, I'm going to stick with Moura and Son up front and hope to get some results. But how important has the goals been and the assists been that Llorente has provided in this period where we haven't had any Harry Kane? You know, quite important stuff really, isn't it? And now he's talking about having another year's contract as opposed to leaving, along with Sissoko, who was leaving in the summer. So that's a little bit of a turnaround, and that is down to the man management of Pochettino. For a player who was ready to exit because he wasn't getting any game time, to now feel that he is part of the project says a lot about the work that Pochettino does with the players. Pochettino has always said that it's about the whole squad. I trust the squad, I trust the players. So if you're one of those players and you're on the fringes and you're given an opportunity, they must know that Pochettino is saying, I believe in you. I believe that you will go out there and you will play well for the club and do the job that I expect from you, for the fans, for the club, and for me as your manager. And they all seem to want to do that. They all seem to want to do it for the collective, not for the individual. If you see Chelsea the other week when they were scoring, as I've said before, their players don't seem to give a shit about each other. It's just a lot of expensive players playing individually, and that's it. Whereas when you see our players score, the collective, the way they come together to celebrate that, not just at the time but at the end of the game, you can clearly see the togetherness and the strength of the guys together, how they all get on, how they all gel. So that kind of, I guess, if you start thinking about the youth element of this story with Pochettino, Harry Winks has just turned 23. But that kid, and he is still a kid, has been up against some of the best footballers in the world. He's played in midfield and bossed it and hasn't looked out of place. And the criticism that gets levelled against him is he doesn't score enough goals. But to be fair, Dembele was classed as a great player for us, and we loved him. Oh, shush, really? Dog's just got a bit mad. But Dembele is classed as a great player for us. Hardly scored any goals. But who was to pop up the other week? But Harry Winks, where he banged one in for us. Nodded one in for us, shall I say. So, I think he has it in his game to get forward. But at the same time, has he needed to? Because he has been in the position where he has had to manage the midfield that we're playing against, and to make sure that the transitions are managed and played clearly and easily through. Keep it simple, keep the ball moving, keep control of it, and make sure that we are in control of the game. That's his role. He plays it onto Sissoko, who's now gliding past players as if they're not there. More Moussa Dembele than Moussa Sissoko. So, that's all confidence and that's belief. So, the big player to come through, as is being groomed by the manager, is the young lad Skip. Now, I've seen, before the Dortmund game, I saw some criticism of him, which I think is unbelievable. As an 18-year-old, to come into the Premier League and play in the centre of midfield is a big ask. And if the Llorente, Winks and Sissoko stories are not evidence enough that Pochettino knows what he's doing with his players and knows how to manage those players and develop those players, then surely the emergence of young Skippy has got to tell you something, no? So, there are a few of the reasons why I believe that Pochettino is one of the best around in terms of managing the squad and managing the players. He also never blames anybody else. He doesn't blame the referee. He doesn't blame the pitch. Doesn't blame the weather. He doesn't blame the linesman or the rules or VAR or the players or the fans or the lack of stadium or any of those things. What he does is he keeps it professional and he brings it down. He takes the pressure away. Our team missed out in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup in a week. But what he did is he took all the focus onto himself. It was all about Pochettino doesn't see that winning those cups is anything other than ego boosting for his players. So the media weren't really talking about us getting exited from those cups and the shortfalls in that. They were talking about Pochettino's lack of ambition and how he doesn't understand what fans want. Clearly, if you're a manager at the highest level, you've got to want to win silverware. Of course you have. And any silverware is good silverware. But in terms of an overall club and progression as a club, winning the Carabao Cup is not going to do it for you. It'll make us as football fans happy because we get a bit of silverware and a bit of bragging rights, but it's not going to take the club forward. You get more from playing Dortmund in the last 16 of the Champions League. So in terms of finance and money and development and investment, that clearly makes a bigger impact than just winning the Carabao Cup. I'm sure he would have liked it. I'm sure he would have liked to have won it, because obviously the first bit of silverware is sometimes the hardest to gain. So being able to gain that first piece would have been great. But we are sitting third in the Premier League. We have just beaten Dortmund in the first leg of our Champions League tie in the last 16. And the title race, technically, isn't over yet. And we're right behind the two of the biggest spenders there are around. So, all this is being done without Ali, without Kane, without Son at periods, without Alderweireld for periods, without Vertonghen at periods, without Dembele, without a stadium. But he's managed to keep those players, the whole squad, together, fighting and playing for each other and playing for the club and playing for him. As a manager myself, when I'm interviewing people for jobs to be part of my team, I'm looking at who's going to fit in with my team, who is going to be able to develop, who's going to be the next person to take my job when I've moved on. So management is the same effectively in all roles. So when Pochettino is looking at his squad of players and the players that are around, he's looking and he's saying, okay, Mr. Skip, you're 18, I can develop you, I can see what you can do now, but if I do this and put you in this game, that gives you that little bit of experience. If I put you next to this player, that gives you a little bit of experience. There's no doubt in that Harry Winks has gained an awful lot from playing with Moussa Dembele, for instance, or even with Eric Dyer. So getting that development and that step into the game gradually is what's helping develop those players. And that's all what Pochettino's doing. Those are the sorts of things he's thinking about. So then you think about the situation with Vincent Janssen. You don't go from being a professional footballer in Holland, being the top scorer, and bought by Pochettino to London, to becoming shit overnight. There has to be something else going on there. There has to be an issue with his ethos, with his ability to fit in, with his work rate, with his attitude, that is making Pochettino say, he's not in my plans, because he doesn't fit in. You can't doubt his ability, because if anyone can make Vincent Janssen a better player, it's Pochettino, because he's proved that. So, there's got to be something else in the background that's causing that issue. So my final point around what Pochettino has done in terms of development of the players and bringing players through and building this squad and this togetherness is Harry Kane. Now, I can remember when Harry Kane first came on the scene. I watched him play and I used to think to myself, this kid works so hard. He does everything but put the ball in the back of the net. He could not score for love nor money, which a little bit reminds me of Vincent Janssen. He worked really hard for the team but couldn't score. And Harry Kane couldn't. He couldn't score for love nor money. And as fans, we're calling out for a big name signing, which we're still calling out for, by the way. So they're calling out for a big name. But he kept his faith. He kept his faith with Harry Kane. And now we have arguably the best striker all-round striker in the Premier League, if not in world football. Left foot, right foot, inside the box, outside the box, header, volleys, you name it. Even his assists are world class, in my opinion. That's come about through the coaching of Pochettino and his assistants. It's not by accident. So when I say that Pochettino is the best manager in the Premier League, I don't say it because I've got my rose-tinted glasses on as a Tottenham fan. I say it because I honestly believe it. I think he has done so much for my club. You've got to remember, all through the 90s and the 2000s, we were nowhere. We've done nothing. An odd cup here and there. Is that good enough? Does that make us a big club? No, I'm sorry, it doesn't. But for the last 3 years, being in the Champions League and being contenders, and for the last 2, doing that even without a home, with the injuries that we've had and without the investment in the squad, you have to say, who else could have done that? Could Mourinho have done that? Could Unai Emery have done that? Dare I say it, could Jurgen Klopp do that? I don't think so. And I have to say, even Pep Guardiola, who's considered probably the best manager by lots and lots of people, I don't believe he could have done what Pochettino has done at Tottenham. It's my opinion. It's like me penis. It's okay to have it, but I don't have to share it. But I like sharing it. Opinions, obviously, not my penis. So, with all this talk of penises, I'll leave that there and I'll just say, up the Spurs.